Alright, Shalom. I'd like to start off by saying, Call Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harakak Wadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, double honors to our elder apostles as well, to her one Bunny Yasharala down here in the Lions Den camp. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth, sincerity, and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Alright, I'm Khanak on Bunny Yasharala from the Lions Den Yasharala camp. And this is another Lions Den News and Prophecy. And you know how we do, so let's go. It says, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written on paper, for they are faithful and true. All right. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. All right. And let's keep going. It says, For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. And this is the time that we're living in right now. Where the Lord's not gonna prolong his words anymore. Matter of fact. Um this is Ezekiel 12:28. It says, Therefore thus say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, there shall none of my words be prolonged any more, but the word which I have spoken shall be done, saith the Lord. And that's the words, this prophecy that we're speaking. You know, as we progress in this thing, these prophecies are the things that we speak are gonna be popping off, popping off, popping off, coming to fruition, coming to reality. You see that? So the ones that didn't want to listen in the beginning, they're gonna have to. They'll listen when these prophecies come. By the time it's gonna be too late. But the reason why I'm bringing that out is because we're witnessing the downfall of this sinful kingdom, Babylon the Great, and Yahweh Shemel Shah is bringing it low. All right. So it says Iran war has cost 25 billion to date, defense official says. Now they're pulling money from all over the place to get the funding for this war, right? And and they're gonna continue to spin their wheels, spin their wheels, spin their wheels. I wouldn't be surprised if the ceasefire, not ceasefire, the opening and the closing is just a strategic strategy to have America spinning their wheels and burning up their money. Because I wonder, let me see something. All right, so um, it won't give me a number. I was trying to see how much maybe Iran has been spending. It says Iran's national currency, the rial, plummeted to a record low of 1.8 million to the dollar by late April 2026, fueling severe inflation and affecting the cost of daily essential food and medicine. It says a U.S. naval blockade has stopped most of shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. That's not true because China said fuck the blockade and what's going through. It says crippling Iran's primary source of revenue, oil exports, but they're shutting the Strait of Hormuz down. It doesn't matter. All right, so let's see what the budgetary strain. Even prior to the war, Iran was struggling with high inflation and skyrocketing prices for basic goods and the halt of its main revenue stream through the blockade of the doing. That's not true. But this war has cost America $25 billion. See that? So, and they're pulling, like I said before, they're pulling money from everywhere, like uh, Social Security, food stamp benefits, and things like that. I know a lot of people, quite a few people, that food stamps have been either cut low or cut off. And then not only that, at a time where prices are skyrocketing. I was in the convenience store the other day, and a simple bag of chips. I think it was a bag of chips or something like that. The woman was like, "Dang, like a couple months ago they were $1.15. No, $1.25. Now they were $2. That's a major increase on something like chips. Then we see the increase in gas. So the cost of this war, the people are going to start feeling it eventually. They can only do so much pulling them from different funds, and not only that, you have the Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to um, affect imports coming into America. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, the United States is spinning its wheels with this war. Who brought them into this war? Israel. And how much is it costing Israel? Probably nothing. Um, Let me see. Okay, based on primarily estimates of mid-April 2026, the war with Iran has cost Israel approximately 35 billion shekels, which is 11.5 billion US dollars. Its direct budgetary expenses. Right, so a total of $36 billion is being spent on this war so far. It doesn't give an estimate on Iran's cost. It says 35 billion, but yeah, the type of weaponry that they're using low, but they haven't even broke out the big guns yet. So I kind of find it hard to believe that Iran's spent uh 35 billion on this war by itself. Um, so the economic impact of the economic global impact of this war is going to be astronomical because um, which is going to cause other nations to get involved because not only is it going to affect the ones that are in the war spending money, it's going to affect the ones that are not going to be able to get their imports or their exports to increase their gross GDP. If that decreased, then the economy, the global economy is going to decrease, which is going to rise in inflation, which is going to cause a recession. The recession that you feel right now is being felt by the companies. So they have to charge a little bit more, like gas. Got to charge more for gas because of the situation. Um, you gotta you know what I'm saying. So, and it'll cause other things because like I've dealt with logistics pretty much my whole life, since I was about 18, 19 years old. But dealing with logistics, the cost is effective, right? What is it called? What is your profit margin? Let's just say we have a loaf of bread, right? And production wise of the loaf of bread is 25 cents, just for easy math, right? And let's say a dollar just for easy math. And it also costs an extra 50 cents per loaf to get it here to the United States. All right, so we're looking at a cost of $1.50. That's with shipping and everything for that. So now, what is your profit margin? Let's say you're selling it $1.50. Let's say you're selling it for uh, $3 a loaf, right? So you have a profit of $1.50 on top of it. So that's 100% markup that you have. But what happens if, you know, now the cost of that goes up to $2? Now you only have a what 75% or 50% markup. Let's say the cost of that goes to $2.50. It keeps eating into that profit, right? In order for now they can keep the wages the same, right? But if they have other expenses that may come about, it's also that's going to eat into that profit margin. So now once it gets to the point where it costs $3 to get that $3 per loaf to get it here, they're gonna be like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, we gotta increase the prices because it's costing us more. Look at that, oil stocks plummet. That's gonna be another lesson. It says because it's costing them more to get it here because of the situation that's going on in the so-called Middle East. It's gonna from a global standpoint, it's gonna affect all import exports. You see that? It says the cost of the conflict in Iran is about 25 billion at this point, according to an estimate from the acting comptroller Jules Hurst, who revealed the numbers in testimony before the House Armed Services Committee Wednesday. Hurst is appearing alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane regarding the Defense Department's 1.5 trillion budget request. See that? So they're going to have to pull more money. They're either going to borrow more from the feds or they got to pull from other funding. This is the first time Hegseth has publicly testified on the Hill since last June, months before the war in Iran began. The questions have focused on the Pentagon's effort to ramp up production of critical munitions and ships to deter a threat like China, and some Democrats have so far questioned the Trump administration's overall Iran strategy regarding Iran now that talks seem stalled. So they're trying to. So what's happening is there was another. I don't. I should have did the lesson. I might have did a lesson. I'm not sure. Where the United States can run out of certain weaponry and make them vulnerable to other threats like China and Russia. See that? So now they have to ramp up um uh, production of critical munitions to sustain just in case they get a threat from somebody else. It's a Democrat Representative Adam Smith, the ranking member of the committee, said President Trump's remarks earlier this month that Iran had agreed to give up everything, including its nuclear program and its hold on the Strait of Hormuz, have not been borne out. Borne out. It says so. Wish fulfillment is not really a strategy, Smith said. What we need to hear today is what is going to work. And there's nothing going to work because Iran is not giving up. Hegseth, in his opening remarks, said he expected questions on Iran and criticized Congress, telling the committee that the biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless, uh, feckless, and deficit, defos- deficit words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans 2 months in, because they're questioning and they feel some type of way about what's going on and about all this money that's being spent on this war. Now, because they're questioning what is your strategy, what is your plan to end all this, they're looked at as the adversary because they're supposed to just wing it. Just throw all the money that you need at it. That's one thing Esau has to do, likes to do. You got a problem, just they like to throw money at it. But what happens when their money runs short? This what happens. Is Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come and sit down in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt be no more called tender and delicate." Because you're not going to be able to throw that weight around. Come, no, it's funny that they're confused on what the strategy is, and it says, "Come sit down in the dust" means come sit in confusion. You know that? And there's no more throne, there's no more rulership. And ultimately, what you're seeing transpire and happen is going to be the downfall of the United States. It says, "Take the millstones and grind the mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers." See that? Let's read that in the. Hold on. Hold on. Mm, mm. It says, man, listen. And Lord's finna. It says, the header at the top, it says, the humiliation of Babylon. See that? The Lord is going to humiliate this place. And it's going to be a gazing stop. A gazing stop. Everybody going to be looking at this place and laughing. Some of the merchants are going to be upset because they ain't going to be able to make money off this place anymore. But they're going to be like, whoa, sucks to be them, because they're going to be happy that, you know what I'm saying, they didn't get the judgment that America is going to get. But ultimately, what they have established is going to be torn down too by Yahweh, by Shem Shai. By taking down Esau, you can say America, but Esau in the whole foot of the statue in the book of Daniel is being taken down. So what the scripture says, you know, that he went forth conquering and went on to conquer, and he has many crowns. Uh, uh, you had the crown of thorns. There's multiple crowns that Yahweh Shai has. The crown of thorns when he gave us opportunity at salvation. The crown of conquering death by being resurrected. Uh, uh, the crown that was given to him by Yahweh by sitting on the right hand side of the Father. Um, uh, the crown being the governor of Israel of his people, the crown of ruling these nations over the whole world, you know, and the crown of conquering all these nations. All right, so ultimately we're watching this happen, and the statement that Hegseth made about, you know, the questions that are being brought forth by what he said, congressional Democrats and some Republicans, um, are generating strife between uh, the two powers that be. And you know, if Satan be divided against Satan, cannot stand. All right, all right. So the article says, he said his generation remembers how long the conflicts of Iraq and Afghanistan lasted, but but you didn't never win Afghanistan, and this is just 2 months into an extensional fight for the safety of the American people. They ain't did nothing to us or to them. At the outset of the war, President Trump said it would only last about 4 to 6 weeks. All right, so we passed that. You said 4 to 6 weeks, and we had 8. It said Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware expressed doubt that the war was so far has cost only 25 billion. I'm frankly certain that that is low. He said, "Oh yeah, they screwing the numbers just to make it seem like they ain't spent that much, but yeah, they probably spent way more than that." He said of Hearst estimates suggesting that it did not include the cost of deploying and holding forces in theater for 2 months and other expenses. It may be that it's 25 billion in munitions that have been dropped, but that is not the total cost of the war by any understanding, Kuhn said. So it's more than 25 billion that they spent. He's figuring that's only the cost of munition, but it was more than 25 billion, man. All right, it says chairman of committee GOP rep Mike Rogers in his opening remarks noted that global munition stockpiles are low and we lack the capacity to rapidly restock magazine depth. Hegseth outlined efforts to encourage industry to ramp up production of crucial munitions, saying the Defense Department has that's man. See, Trump getting his buddies rich, man. All his buddies, like the Defense Department, these other countries that are making these weapons and stuff like that, he's telling them to invest in that because America's gonna dump their money in that shit. Like right now, like the elder was saying, man, this might not have really much to do with no oil, but this is something the sky to make his partners rich. Because I guarantee he's telling them where to put his money in and where to pull it out of. They're getting rich off this war, so they're gonna ask for another like how much they said they wanted. How much they said they wanted? 1.5 trillion dollar budget. Hmm. So he's gonna tell a couple of his homies, "Hey, invest in this because we're gonna convince Congress to give us this money to put towards that, and they're gonna come. Man, listen, they already man. That's how they stay rich. That's how they stay rich, man. That's crazy, man. But the Lord has, hey, the Lord's got something for him, man. This is Isaiah 47:5. It says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms." And that's the point. But everything that's going on with that war over there, and then I don't know how much funding, if they're still giving any funding to Ukraine. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. It says, is the U.S. still helping Ukraine in the war? It says, yes, U.S. continues to help Ukraine through the nature of support, though the nature of support has shifted while no major new aid legislation passed in early 2025. Significant funding and military approved and funding and weaponry approved previously are still being delivered, and the United States remains committed to providing security assistance and supporting economic recovery. See that? So there. All right, funding status as of December 31st, 2025, approximately 58% of total 188 billion in appropriated funds have been dispersed. Damn. And not only in military aid, it says the U.S. continues to provide weapons, including critical ammunition and air defense systems, with over 3 million 155 millimeter artillery rounds provided. And these are some of the things that the United States is going to need to help aid to fight against Iran. So now what happens if China decides they want to go into Taiwan? They have to come to Taiwan's defense. The Lord is stretching this place thin, man. And you know what? And it's going to get to the point that the United States ain't going to be able to defend themselves. You know? So, hey, we see it right here. Estimated cost, but this is a screwed number, a skewed number. It's really more than this, probably maybe close to double that. But 25 billion to date in defense for this war against Iran. There's nothing but downhill from here, man. All right. Lord willing, this lesson edifying and service perfect for the hopeful elect, the ones that truly believe in the name Yahweh Shema Shai. With that, I'd like to say, call Halayim, La Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Harakak Wadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone, double honors to our elder apostle as well, the Hero One Bunyan Charlotte down here in the Lions in camp. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth to sincerity and truth. And peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Shema Shai. Shalom.